If you want to get into music production, this series will cover the 6 learning curves you'll conquer on your journey. Last video we discussed the digital audio workstation. Today we're talking about music theory. Come on, let's go. Hi everybody, I'm Peter Elfman from Stereostatic. I'm a novice music producer making videos for music producers starting out just like me. This guy over here is Starburst. You may have seen him in previous videos. He's here to keep me company and pass judgment. Alright, vlog date 2024-01.27. I am sure you'll figure it out. How are you doing? No, really, how are you doing? Drop me a note in comments. Tell me how you're doing. How am I doing? Whew! So I had something scripted, but then like right as I was preparing for this video, I just got an email. I have an audiobook coming out. I've mentioned that very early on, and I just got back some of the color tests from the author, and oh my god, I cannot wait to announce this project in full and drop a cover reveal on you people. Holy crap. Also, not less exciting, I'm now editing videos for someone else's channel. I will let you know when those things are up so you can go check out her stuff. So keep an eye out for that. All right, enough about me. We're here to talk about music theory. So let's get into it. Now, in a previous video, I talked about how I feel, hot take, if you're a music producer, you should learn music theory. And you can watch that video to get why I feel that way. The core line is, music theory is the language of the industry. So if you want to be a professional in the industry, you should at least be conversant. The point of this video is to break down music theory into small digestible chunks to help you tackle it with confidence. I have 3 recommendations for how to do this. Recommendation number 1, the circle of fifths. What is the circle of fifths? The circle of fifths is a relational chart of notes that has 3 layers. There is a note layer, a chord layer, and a key layer, as in key signatures. The reason why I feel this is a great place to start is because of the 3 things that it covers. You can actually learn on each of those levels, and you can start on the note level, which is relatively easy. Even if you don't know how to read sheet music, your notes are printed on the piano roll in your DAW. That's a one-to-one relationship, easy to follow on the chart. Once you graduate to actually working on chords and chord progressions, that chart will graduate with you and give you an idea of how to put together chords that sound well together. And then, once you're comfortable with chord progressions, you can graduate up to working on a key signature level. You can learn all of that on your own time, at your own speed, just by using the circle of fifths. There are plenty of resources online. Once you get comfortable with the circle of fifths, my second recommendation is to start looking up modes. And apparently I have just learned today, I'm specifically talking about diatonic modes. Everybody knows the major scale, and most of you have heard of the minor scale. Those are actually 2 different modes. The Ionian scale is the major scale, and the Aeolian is the minor scale. But what is a mode? What is a man? A mode is a set of rules to define the intervals within an octave. Now that was just word salad. To put it in simpler terms, it's how to choose which 7 notes out of the 12 you're going to use in a song. Okay, what does that mean? Most people who hear the term octave think of the number 8 because oct is the Latin root meaning 8. And when we recount an octave, we count 8 notes. However, the 8th note is the first note bumped up an octave. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Just like the song says. That will bring us back to do. So it's a repeating cycle of 7 notes. Your keyboard is laid out in a 12-note pattern. You've got 7 white keys, 5 black keys. When you choose a mode, that mode will dictate which 7 of those 12 notes you're going to be using in your piece. Or at least in that section of a piece, if you're changing around notes, which is a completely plausible way to write music. Each mode has its own rules for choosing the next note. So you have your bass note, and then you're either going up a half tone or a full tone to your next note, and continuing on that way until you start to repeat the pattern. That is a mode. Everyone has heard of the first 2 modes I mentioned. There are 5 more. I'm not going to go into detail on that because that's not really necessary. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to break this down into smaller chunks. But now you know there are 7 modes you can explore once you get comfortable with the circle of fifths. My third suggestion for how to break music down into smaller chunks is voicing. What is voicing? Voicing on its lower level is the expression of a chord. So what does that mean? Let us take a C major chord, for example, C, E, G. You can revoice that chord by taking the E and moving it up an octave or down an octave, by taking the G and moving up an octave or down an octave. You can even move the root note up or down an octave. Each of those variations changes the feel of that chord, which has an emotional impact, particularly when combined with other chords. So you can experiment with that. Here's another example. Let's add the 7th to the chord. So now we have C, E, G, and B. You can move the B up an octave, you can move it down an octave. If you move it down an octave, it becomes closer to your root note, which adds some dissonance to your chord, which will change the flavor of that chord. And all you did was change the voicing of one note. You can revoice all the notes in a chord any which way you creatively want, which leads me to the second level of voicing, which is the instrument and or the part. So in an ensemble piece, you can have multiple instruments playing different notes to create a chord. You can also have different instruments play different parts in an orchestra based off of the particular tones and emotional feeling that that instrument invokes. So for example, heroic music often has the lead played by brass instruments. And then maybe you have flutes playing an ostinato, or what's the word I'm looking for? You just stole that word right out of my head, didn't you? And you don't have a mouth, so you can't even tell me. Darn you, Starburst. Arpeggio. The word I'm looking for is arpeggio. You can have your brass playing the lead while your flutes are playing an arpeggiated chord and an octave or two above them. As an example of voicing. They're all still playing chords within the same key, and sometimes they're even playing within the same chord, or they're combining to create a chord. Those are the basic ways of approaching voices. There's a whole lot more into that. I haven't even gotten into that level yet. No, everything I just mentioned are just aspects of music theory that you will learn on your journey. The best resource for learning music theory that I found so far is Hook Theory. There's a website. I will link you. This is not a sponsored video, unfortunately, because Daddy could use some bank right now. I wish it was sponsored. A lot of what Hook Theory offers is paid services. However, what I will be linking you to is called HookPad. That is a free component. It's what I've been using. And the great thing about HookPad is that it operates on your level, whatever your level is. If you're just working on a note level, you can come at it from just a note level, and through using it, start to learn how to make chords and how to make more complicated chords. You can then start to learn about the different modes and the different keys. You can then start to learn about the different key signatures and the different modes. And then you can start learning how to voice all of those different chords and all of those different keys across multiple parts eventually. All that on your own time at your own speed. It is a great tool. Check out the link. Now, there is a huge caveat. If you're from an English-speaking culture or a Western European culture or a culture heavily influenced by one of those two, everything I just said applies. If you aren't, then your culture, your region, will have its own music theory rules. There is no one singular music theory. For example, Indian music has what they refer to as ragas. Those have their own rules for construction and playing that are in some ways similar and in some ways very dissimilar from Western music theory. If you want to dig more into that, there's a great video by Adam Neely. I'll put that link in the description. Watching that video moved me in profound ways. That's where I learned music theory wasn't the music theory. That was just 2 years ago, and it changed my life. That video changed my relationship with music. I have talked enough for now. Hopefully this video will make music theory less daunting for you. Part 3 of the series is coming soon. Hit me up in the comments if you have any questions, if you have any corrections, or if there are any topics you would like me to cover. I've been Peter Elfman. He's been Starburst. You don't take any shit from anybody, and you'll see me in the next one.